right here, I thought I would start a new video series for you guys on the tarot and the meanings of the individual cards in tarot. So a lot of you guys have been messaging me saying that you're interested in learning more about tarot, learning more about the cards and how to do readings and things like that. So I thought I would start off by doing a little video series for you guys and focusing on just kind of the base meanings of the cards. So, the cards, you have a lot of depth to them and the meanings kind of build and layer. So I'm just going to be giving kind of a brief introduction for each card, and then from there you can use this as a launching point to, keep going, keep learning, keep studying, because there's so much information out there. You could basically write an entire book on each of the cards. So never stop learning, and there's always more to discover. So to begin with though, I thought I would start with kind of giving you guys a little intro into the cards in the major arcana. So the tarot deck is 78 cards, and it's divided into the major arcana and the minor arcana. And the major arcana are 22 cards, and they each have a name. And they represent kind of these big concepts, these big ideas, these huge archetypes of the human condition. So these are kind of the big player cards. So it's important to understand these cards first, as they are kind of, in a way, the most important cards within the deck. So I'm going to start out this particular video with giving you an introduction to 3 of the cards within the major arcana. So we're going to start with the Fool, and then the Magician, and the High Priestess. So starting with the Fool, I have a card here. I'll show you what the Fool looks like. Let's see if that'll focus. Okay. So the Fool here, a good thing to notice to begin with is the number at the top here is actually 0 as opposed to 1. So why would we be starting a tarot deck with 0 as opposed to 1? And that kind of goes into a bit of like what the Fool represents. So when you think of the concept of 0, it's kind of this perfect number. It kind of makes me think of like an Ouroboros, like that snake eating its tail, right? There's no beginning and there's no end. It's just a cycle. And that's kind of the message partly of the Fool too, is he is the beginning of the cycle. And him in particular represents all of that kind of naivete, but also like exuberance and excitement with starting anew. So in the particular card, you can see it's this youthful figure. He's got a stick with kind of some of his, maybe some food perhaps, and he's starting off on a journey. He has a dog at his feet, and he is actually about to tumble off a cliff here. So it kind of represents us at the beginning of our lives, or us at the beginning of a new path. So we are youthful, at least within that path, in the sense that we're starting out, we are beginners, we don't really know everything yet. But the Fool is kind of that unbridled, I'm not afraid, excitement and just kind of go for it attitude, because you need that, right? He hasn't been, burned down by life yet. He's got all this potential energy, right? All this potential for new adventures, new conquests, new everything like that. But at the same time, because he's new, he's naive and might need to rely on others, on mentors, to help him through this journey. And you can kind of think of the entire tarot deck itself, and especially these major arcana cards, as representing the Fool going through that journey. And then he ends with the last card, which is the World, which is when he would cycle back and start over. Because one of the main lessons about tarot, and one of the main things you can really take away from it, is everything is within cycles. Our own life, what happens in our life, and possibly beyond, is all cyclical. And that's why it starts with 0. And so the Fool here, he is a great card to get in a reading too, because you're kind of starting something new, and that's always exciting when this card appears. So it's always fun to start yourself on a new journey where you don't know where it's gonna go, and he doesn't know where it's gonna go, but he's still courageous and fearless enough. There's Gregory. He's just jumped down. He's still courageous and fearless enough to go for it. So that's the kind of lessons of the Fool. I could go on and on about the Fool, but I don't want this video to be, you know, 30 minutes long, at least initially. So that's the Fool, starting with number 0. So the next card I have here is the Magician. Let me zoom in here, see if you can see it. Let me see if it'll focus on it. There we go. Okay, and again, this is from the Pagan Otherworlds Tarot deck. So here we have a figure, and he has a large kind of staff and kind of an altar table, and he's got one finger pointed to the ground here. So the Magician, his kind of realm is all about the unconscious, connecting with those forces, both the spiritual sides of ourselves, of the universe, but also the physical, because he's in between here. He's in between kind of the spiritual side of things and earth. He's the conduit and the connector of those two realms. And he is able to use those forces, think like forces of nature even, like earth, air, fire, and water. He's able to take those forces and harness them and use them to his bidding in a way. But also he's very respectful of those kind of natural forces. He's able to pull up that power from the earth and direct it to where he wants to go. So this is a figure of, you know, great power in that regard. And in some decks, not in this one in particular, on the altar, they'll actually have symbols of the 4 suits that are represented in the minor arcana. And those 4 suits are swords, cups, wands, and pentacles. But here you can see he's just kind of got a stone altar here, and his staff. So when the Magician appears, you know, it's calling you to remember that sometimes there are forces in life, like how he's kind of using these and working with these huge, you know, earth, air, fire, water, these big forces. The Magician is reminding you that there are these bigger things than you swirling around us at any moment, and they're larger than life things, possibly things you can't even change necessarily, but you can harness that power and help you to direct it in a different way. But you should never want to go against those forces, because that would be a losing battle. So this is a very powerful figure, a very powerful card to get. And it is that reminder to tap into the spiritual aspect of things. Don't lose your own grounding in reality. You want to be that conduit, and you want to understand the forces within the unconscious realm and work with them, not against them. And understanding those forces is going to help you to achieve that. So that's kind of the basic concept of the Magician here. Could go on and on about this one. This one's kind of can get into a lot of philosophy and even alchemy and things like that, but maybe for another video. So the last card I wanted to go over for our first video here in this series is the High Priestess. Here, I'll put it right there for you. So again, this is with the Pagan Otherworlds deck, and you can see it's a woman here, and she's kind of in this blue cloak with this kind of female armor, and she kind of has some moon symbols twinkling from her finger, and then she kind of has a book of knowledge here on her lap. that is resting on her lap, and her feet are kind of swirling in these pools of water, and these kind of pools of water are a representation of intuition, unconscious, and her main focus is spirituality. She is in charge of that realm. That's her place. That's the area of life that she controls. So when you think High Priestess, you're kind of thinking the height of those female mysteries, the height of that female power. And here in this particular, deck, she's kind of cloaked in blue. It kind of makes you think of like a Mother Mary type, but instead of it like hiding her femininity, you can clearly see her feminine shape. It's cloaked to her figure, because she's saying that female power, that mysticism, that connection to the intuition, that connection to spirituality, that is powerful just in the same way, female, that is a female power. Not that just women have that power, but that's kind of a more associated with the feminine, and that's beautiful in its own way. So that's pretty cool too. And she's got that book there, on her lap. So she's clearly, someone who reads and learns and always conscious of expanding her knowledge of the world. But the Priestess too is a reminder that not to get too bogged down in just those facts of what's on the paper. You need to broaden your mind and open it up to other ideas, because life isn't just about facts. There are bigger forces, kind of like the Magician, bigger things at work, spirituality, all of that, kind of these great concepts, philosophy, and that these are also important areas to explore, and that they're definitely worth learning about and worth exploring yourself. So that is the High Priestess here. So that is the conclusion of my first video specifically about the cards. So we went over the Fool, and then we went over the Magician, number 1, and then we went over the High Priestess, number 2. So I'll probably try and do another video going over some more cards within the major arcana probably next week. If you have questions about these 3 cards, again, this is just an intro, and there's definitely more to each card, and also each reader has their own interpretation too. So you kind of need to make the cards and your understanding of them your own. Your interpretation of the cards will continue to evolve, and their meaning isn't just what I'm saying to you or what you read in a book. You kind of want to reach down deeply and meditate and think about these meanings and come to your own conclusions, because if you are interested in readings, you need to kind of go within yourself and tap into that kind of that High Priestess part of your own subconscious and your own unconscious intuition in order to help you kind of understand and interpret these cards. So I hope you liked it. If you definitely put questions down below if you want to learn more about the Fool, the Magician, or the High Priestess, and I will answer them in the comments. And I hope this was worthwhile for you guys. Let me know if you want to see more. There's plenty of cards in the deck, so I could do this all day long or not, whichever you guys are interested in. And I will talk to you later. Okay, bye.